Yeah, it is another episode of the Out Windbags. RJ Clifford, Juan Soto. Let's have some fun today. The Raiders limped into Tampa Bay, Florida. Great strip clubs. I'll be heading there on Thursday. One good thing about the place.
Mons Venus.
Limped into Tampa Bay at 2-10. Coming off of a long week, little extra rest. A very battered and bruised Tampa Bay team. A lot of injuries over there. We thought, okay, only 6.5-point underdogs. That's basically favorites as far as this season goes. And for a little bit of a time there, it seemed like the Raiders might have something going. Bucs scored on the first two opening drives. It looked terrible. The Bucs then went the next 6 drives, 3 punts, 3 turnovers. The Raiders with 3 takeaways, their first fumble recovery of the season. And we're thinking defense kind of got its act together a little bit. And Sir McCormick's kind of moving a little bit. Maybe we got something. And then the fourth quarter came around and it all came dribbling down like diarrhea. Raiders fall 28-13. And after losing QB1A 2 weeks ago, we now lose QB1B, most likely for this season, considering Farva was in an air cast and carted out. Desmond Ridder looks like he'll be finishing out the season for us. Oh no, we suck again.
What do you mean again? We've been sucking.
Again.
Yeah. I mean,
only one thing left to do.
Right? Just start drinking. My advice to you is to drink heavily. Dude, it's just I'm trying to be conscious of the fandom out there. I'm trying to be conscious of what that does to people's judgment and what they see. But this is why you and I have been saying Aidan O'Connell is an excellent backup or bridge quarterback. He's not a full-time NFL starting quarterback. He just isn't. And a lot of these fans out there they want to squint and turn it and twist it and make it and to see if they can hit it at the right light, at the right angle to make it something that it's not. He's just not. And this game showed his ups and downs. He had 2 turnovers. He should have had 3. It gets really hard when you know what you see and you know that you're right, but so many people are so dug in and passionate and so wrong. And even though you give them all of the evidence, they're still just gonna they want to be right better than they want to win.
Yeah, so Aidan O'Connell, 11 of 19, 104 yards, interception, no touchdowns. He did QB sneak in one touchdown, rating of 51.2. Desmond Ridder outplayed him. 12 of 18, almost the same number of yards, no interceptions. He should have thrown that one. Looked like it was an interception. But refs kind of bailed him out. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you 100%, Soto. I'm a little bit more forgiving of the fans because we haven't seen good quarterback play in so long. And when Farva came off of a genuinely amazing game last week against a very good defense in the Kansas City Chiefs, you get excited and you have very, very short memory. And you're like, we got our guy. Let's do it. It's wrong. It's dumb, but I understand. I get it.
No, I get it. I'm trying to be conscious of it.
But I think this game shows like it's much, much deeper than Farva, right? I think we can all agree that he's not the problem, right? Like he's not the issue here.
He's also not the answer.
The answer either, right?
And we need to acknowledge that.
I will also, in fairness to him, again, 4 different offensive coordinators. He hasn't been able to get through a full season as starter. Who knows what he would be if he was playing for a real franchise with a real coach and a real offensive coordinator. Nothing really personnel really doesn't. It always matters, but it's not going to be championship levels of mattering until the higher up are figured out. An owner that can get an organization running smoothly, a coach that knows what he's doing, an offensive coordinator that's not just there because his dad was a head coach 20 years ago. Like until all that's figured out, I mean, it could be Farva, it could be Minshew, it could be Ridder, it could be Mahomes, and we're not going to win a championship until that's figured out. So yeah, like you're 100% right. Like Farva is as of all the evidence he's given us, he's got time to improve. worse quarterbacks than him have become good quarterbacks. But all the evidence we have right now, great backup. I want him to be a Raider a very long time. Bridge quarterback. He'd be great. We'll get to it in a second here, but right now we're the number 1 draft pick right now with Jacksonville winning. We're at number 1 with the first pick. You'd be an awesome guy to be like, okay, you're our starting quarterback until he's ready, or you're the guy that helps. Like, there is a long, long role and job for Farva with this organization. It's just not, all right, we're pushing all our chips in on the 27-year-old from Purdue.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just tired of all the excuses, because until there's tape on team presidents and executives that you can break down, that shouldn't be a concern of ours right now. What we should talk about are the things that we can see and we can break down and we can justify. There's no rule saying that you can only work on one thing at a time in the organization. So you can upgrade your quarterback. You can upgrade players on your team while you sort out what's going on in the front office. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about front office people. We don't know their names. We don't know their backgrounds. That's just another deep excuse for keeping a mid player at the most important position longer than you should as your long-term starter. And it just, people actually believe that he's the answer. And I think honestly, a lot of Raider Nation has that inferiority complex. They have that, like they've told themselves that we're everyone's against us and that we're bad and that we're the underdogs and all this stuff, right? For so long, we want an underdog quarterback to come up and to be the guy. And I tell the fighters all the time at the gym, everyone wants to be Rocky. Everyone wants to be the guy that everyone counted out and that just, persevered. What's wrong with being the better fighter? What's wrong with being the better prepared fighter? What's wrong with being the better athlete? What's wrong with just being better and then doing that stuff as well? And it's really annoying when people are coming at me saying that I'm an idiot, I'm arrogant, I'm this, I'm that, and I'm right. I'm fucking right. And it's just super annoying because this mentality, more than anything else, buries franchises. When you're stuck in a mentality of a victim mentality, or you're stuck in this is the type of person, this is the type of player. So what? If, let's say, for example, we get a Shedeur Sanders, let's just say, so what if he's cocky? So what if he wears a lot of jewelry? So what if he talks a lot of shit? So what if he came from money? When Joe Burrow was that guy, everyone loved it. When Joe Burrow was cocky, when Joe Burrow was talking shit, when Joe Burrow was freaking smoking cigars in college, everyone was okay with it. I think it's a positive that Shedeur Sanders grew up a millionaire and still had the drive to work as hard as he has to be the number 1 quarterback in this class. But people don't want to look at it that way. They want the last pick in the 4th round to become that guy because that's a Raider thing. You know what else is a Raider thing? Is losing. Is playing an excellent game and then taking a dump the next game against a very beatable team. And as a fan base, we need to check ourselves and we need to check our mentality of what we actually want to have happen. If we want to stop being this stepchild, you want to stop being this lower pissed on franchise, we have to start having a better mentality of what we expect. And there's nothing wrong with being better. We don't always have to be the underdogs.
Pissed off? If I was that close to a horse's weenie, I'd be more worried about getting pissed on. What movie's that from? Yeah, man. Well, now we're going to be in that golden child spot because we currently have the number 1 draft pick with the Jacksonville Jaguars winning. Look at this. Look at these losing streaks. 9, 8, 3, 3. It is a race to the bottom, and the Raiders are winning it. We're winning something. Well, the Aidan O'Connell discussion is null and void, right? He's injured, and like that looked like an out for a season injury to me. I mean, obviously, we're just looking at it from a bird's eye view. So quarterback is going to be drafted, procured, figured out. Maybe the Raiders do sign also a bridge or a veteran as well. We'll see what they do, but it's all signs point towards a quarterback getting picked early. And it's not like, honestly, it's less about, is it Shador? Is it Cam? Really, to me, that obviously matters, but it's more about who is going to be nurturing this guy. What linemen are going to be blocking for him? Which offensive coordinator is going to be designing plays for him? Which quarterback coach is going to be going through drills with him on a daily basis? Which team president is going to make him feel comfortable and welcome and put everything around him necessary? That's so much of it, guys. That is so much of it. Look at Baker Mayfield. Fizzled everywhere because he was in trash franchises. Goes to Tampa Bay, well-run franchise, and now he's winning games. They're number 1 in the NFC South. He had almost 300 yards. Had some Baker plays. But I would take Baker Mayfield all day long over the guys we got, right?
Oh, yeah.
Franchise organization is even more important than quarterback. And it's going to be wholesale changes, right? It's going to be wholesale changes. I mean, do you want to go over Antonio Pierce's decision-making now? Or do you want to?
Yeah,
I
was going to talk a little bit. I was going to talk a little bit about a video that I tweeted, a clip from Todd McShay, and he had a like 30-minute breakdown on Shador Sanders, and this is just how lost I think people are on this guy, and they have his realistic comp to an NFL player as a stronger armed right-handed Tua or a Geno Smith with a quicker release. That's like the comp. That's like a realistic comp. With if what you said happens, they get the right play caller, they get better weapons around him, they build a better team around him, of a Joe Burrow. This is not me saying it. This is a guy that's worked in doing this professionally for decades, saying it. And I think we're missing the boat because, he played at Colorado. They don't play anybody, this and that, la, la, la. Josh Allen didn't play anybody when he went to college either. But you saw the traits. You saw this kid, and you saw what he could do with the team that he had around him. And, I like Aller as well. If he comes out, I personally think, being a top-ranked team and, playing the way he's played, I don't think he's going to boost his stock any, unless he wants to go to a different school that passes more for his senior year. That's a possibility. But I think we're so afraid of the bust that we are willing to take the mid over the boom. I think we're just so afraid for him to be a bust. And if he's a bust, who cares? If he's a bust, then you move on.
Guys, whoever we draft is more than a 50% chance going to be a bust by odds, just by odds. Most, like 50% of first-round quarterbacks don't become your Pro Bowler, don't become your franchise quarterback. That's just a fact.
But you have to. But it's 0 if you don't take one.
It's 0 if you don't take one. That's what I'm saying. You just keep
0
putting bullets in the gun, right? You keep putting bullets in the gun and keep shooting at the target, right? You keep taking shots until you land.
Until you land them.
Because you either have to get a franchise Pro Bowl quarterback, or you're like Detroit and you get literally everything else right. Like, you got to have the best O-line in football, one of the best offensive coordinators in football, an amazing defense that overcame 13 guys on IR, something like that. Like, you have to literally get everything else right, and then just, an okay quarterback, or you got to get that great quarterback. Like, which one do you want to do? Right? Like, you got to find that guy.
Yeah, we have to find that guy.
Raiders haven't even been looking forever.
It's like we have to draft. We have to draft a quarterback with high-end traits, because you need so much more to go right if you don't have those high-end traits. And there's a reason why, as good as Aidan O'Connell is, there's a reason why he was drafted in the 4th round, and we saw a lot of that today. And there are times when everything goes right, when he has a clean pocket and he's able to throw the ball, and they have a great game plan against a defense they see all the time. Yeah, they can put a better game plan together. And I don't think Tom Brady is going to let the next quarterback fail because of what's been given to him as far as coaching. I don't think that's going to be an issue. I think we're going to get the right people to coach this team. We just need to get better players, and trust that the coaches that we select coach them up. And I think that we've done a really good job with a lot of, like Chason had an amazing interception today. And we had a couple other guys like Bernie caused a fumble. He was like a 5th round pick, I believe. And we have players on the team. We just need to get healthy, and we just need to get better at certain positions. I think McCormick showed that he is our lead back. He only ran the ball 15 times, but he had almost 80 yards. He had a few catches too, I believe, right? And he had a
2 catches for 11 yards.
A sweet screen that was called back because questionable. I guess a questionable call. I mean, if I was coaching Jackson Powers Johnson, I'd say, look, just get in his way. Just stand there and let him run into you, because it was a backside block. You can't block backwards on a play like that. But this is something that we're going to talk about. It's going to be a recurring theme up until draft day.
I think this is an offense, again, like you always trying to improve every single position on the team. But this is an offense that can win with a quarterback and good OC. Like Michael Mayer looked great today, right? Our backup tight end looked amazing. We all know Brock Bowers is gonna, you know what I mean? Like
we saw this last year.
You know how good Brock Bowers is? We don't even talk about how good he is on these shows. It's just like a given. It's just like, oh yeah, he's like interstellar. He's unbelievable. He's God. And so we just like we move on to guys that are more like interesting to talk about that aren't just like, you know what I mean? No one's like, all right, let's talk about Superman's like 40 times. Like, no, we know what Brock Bowers is. That's how good he is. Myers, Mayer, McCormick. We'll also keep looking for more running backs, like some 3rd down backs and stuff. Like I like our offense, sans quarterback and offensive coordinator. I think it's, we'll keep improving, but I think we got some talent. I think we got diverse talent.
Yeah, we just need to keep getting more talent, younger guys to kind of push the starters. Because if we get half, right, depth, and that's how you create depth. Yep. Is you get the younger guys to push the starters, and the starters become backups, but they're still good. And then we have the younger guys play because they're better. But I mean, I'm getting a lot of questions on. A lot of guys don't know who Aller is. Drew Aller. He's the quarterback from Penn State. Think of him like not quite as strong an arm, but pretty close in size and stature, and to like a mix between a Josh Allen and a Ben Roethlisberger, minus the rape and the racist tweets.
Well, he's not even interesting then. He's not rapey. I don't trust a quarterback that doesn't have good rape traits.
Yeah, so he's like 6'5", 240, runs a sub 540. He's got a really big arm.
Isn't he like 20?
He's 20 years old.
Baby too. Yeah.
He came into Penn State and he was still 17, I think, when he started. He's
how great is it when your mom has to sign the waiver to play college athletics?
Dude, the kid's a stud, man. I believe.
I remember
he was just 18 when the season started.
Every season, like when I wrestled in college, every season there was always like the youngest. There's always like at least one freshman that was still 17, and like he literally had to get mom's signature to like go on the team. That was Aller. 2.5 years ago.
You draft Aller, and you draft Shador Sanders with the same game plan in mind. You don't put them in until they're ready. Period. If you have to start Aidan O'Connell for a year or 10 games or 15 or whatever, you start them until the starter is ready. We've seen that is the best. I understand that some people like immersion and this and that, but if you can't protect yourself, that's what happened to Joe Burrow. He got his ACL torn the first day, or the first year. But you can draft a guy like Aller, even though he's young, because you want him to be in your system and you want to have control of him, and you want that talent on your team. But yeah, I mean, is he ready to start right now? No, the kid's 20 years old. He has a lot of football left to learn. But these are the type of players that we need to be looking at.
He might not even declare.
High end, he hasn't declared yet.
Yeah.
If I was him, if I was advising him, I would say don't go back to Penn State, as good as they are, because they are a run first team, and you're never going to really highlight what you can do and put yourself on the map. If he went to a different school that threw more, he would be in talks as a top first round pick.
I think honestly it depends how the playoffs go. Like if he goes off, like your draft stock can skyrocket in 2 games because of what you do in the playoffs. So if he like lays an egg and they go like, oh, and like there's like one and done, I think he needs to go back and like rebuild it. But if not even if he looks amazing, just if like Penn State does well and he's the head of it, like he could push first roundy ish. Which we don't want. We want to be a surprise, but yeah.
I see him in the second round, probably. I think that he could be a second round, unless he can be like almost like a Lamar Jackson type, where you just hop into the late first, which we can definitely do. We have 2 third-round picks, and we're going to pick at the top of the second round. So
if we have the number 1 overall, do you trade down and then go Aller? You say, give me a 7th and a 15th.
I'd have to watch more tape on Aller to do that. I'd have to watch more tape on him, and I have to see how he performs in like the pre-draft things too. I saw him play live, and that dude is he flashes special, but he's young, so you're not going to see that as consistent. But the flashes of special are there, and I watched I think one game or 2 games, and he had some brutal throws, and he had a game that was just, I mean, his passing game was kind of built off of the run game, a lot of play action stuff, a lot of wide open guy stuff. He has a really sweet, like a sick tight end too. But overall, we have plenty of time to talk about these guys, but this is the type of player that we need to go after. High end traits, highly productive in college. We need to go after these guys, because you just hoping and wishing for a guy to show you something that he hasn't shown you yet. It's very, very difficult to do.
If you're wondering why we're talking about drafting a quarterback when the season isn't over and we don't even have number 1 like fully wrapped up yet, it's because we're looking for positive things to talk about. We can't just talk about like what we just saw, but we have to. And honestly, we want to, and we need to. Let's do our weekly AP decision meter on the decisions. And honestly, today was more the non-decisions that made Antonio Pierce, our head coach, look terrible. We'll start off with the one good. Going for it on a 4th and 1 in the 3rd. I like that. Punting it on a 4th and 1 earlier in the 3rd, I was fine with. It's on the conservative end, but it's rational. Like your defense was crushing them. It made sense. So I thought there was 2 4th and shorts where I thought he made the right call. Within like, one was a little conservative, one was a little aggressive, but it was in the range of, yeah, those are okay, acceptable. Like those weren't going to kill us. And then there was the other calls. That challenge on that total non-catch in the second quarter.
That was absolutely ridiculous.
Like, how do you not have someone upstairs that's like, yeah, this isn't even close, coach. Like, that's not even remotely close. And it was a great camera angle. It wasn't even like, well, let's see if we can sneak one in. It was just like, bro, that's.
It almost seemed like he felt the pressure for not challenging last week. And he wanted to show, yeah, I'm willing to challenge. Mm-hmm. Again, very reactive. Very reactive.
This was actually... This was a mistake by AP, and it made him look very embarrassing. But this was actually pretty brilliant by the Bucs, Todd Bowles. It was a 4th and 4, right? They get it to like 4 yards, right? They rush to the line, and they make it look like we're trying to just get you off sides. It was towards the end of the first half, right? There's like a minute and a half left, right? And their Baker and company are making it look like, oh, we're going to try to drum off sides. But what that did was that froze Antonio Pierce from calling a timeout and saving time for us to score after they kicked the field goal. Because then after they got the play clock down, the Bucs got the play clock down to the 1, and then just kept going. and then just went for it on 4th and 4. It was like that made AP look off. He got played, dude. That was like marionette strings on a puppet. Like just I gotta give credit to the Bucs. It was a great move. It was strategically really, really smart. And it was just like it was exactly what I was worried about this offseason with Antonio Pierce. Was he's going to average coaches are going to outcoach him. Brilliant coaches are going to make him look
foolish,
like a moron. And there was egg on his face. As literal as egg can be on a coach's face, there was egg on his face in that sequence.
He's just not a good head coach, man. He's an excellent motivator. He would be like an excellent like a position
linebacker coach, which is what he was.
Position coach, or like an assistant coach, an assistant head coach, just a general assistant head coach type of guy. Definitely. And we're seeing that when it's live rounds, right? When it's live rounds where the clock is ticking, he is able to be taken advantage of coaching wise. And it happened again today. I don't understand if you're not when you're not able to move the ball, right, and you're right at midfield, you decide to punt, and it's like you haven't scored. You didn't score the whole last quarter, and I just don't get it, man. I don't understand it. I don't understand some of these decisions. You're down by the goal line and you're down, 7. And you go for a field goal. Like, I mean, you didn't score in almost 2 quarters, and you already threw an interception, in your at your goal line basically. So you haven't been able to like really move the ball besides a couple of drives, and you're already down by the goal line. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't understand why Brock Bowers isn't on the field for every red zone play. There's a lot of questionable things going on that are, he's just not that good, man.
He's not good. And all his mistakes are stemming from he's just singularly defensively minded. He's just so defensively minded. Like that sequence I just brought up. He's like, oh yeah, we want as little time on the clock as possible for them not to score. It's like, motherfucker, it's 4th and 4. You should be thinking about scoring. You should always be thinking about scoring. Like, defense is just something you have to do until you can score. Like, you need to put points on the board. But he's just so this is the best example. Seriously, like, remember the interview, the sideline interview he did between the first and second quarter. I forget the girl's name. Great reporter from CBS. He asked him like a defensive question. It's like, oh, how are you going to stop this off? And blah, blah, blah. And then she says, all right, what about your quarterback? How can you get him going? And AP started talking about Baker because he's only thinking defensively. He was asked about your quarterback, but because his mind can only grasp one side of the ball, he started talking about, yeah, we got to get pressure on Baker. We got to get him to turn the ball over. We got to make him make mistakes. And the lady's just like, okay, I only get 2 questions. So like, okay, bye. I was like, I don't know how many people caught that, but that was like, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but that is it is
a big deal. It's a huge deal.
It's just a great window into his brain where he's only thinking about one side of the ball. And if you have an offensive coordinator you trust and you're a defensive-minded head coach, that can work, right? But when you got to think big picture, like time management, save time on the clock for your offense instead of just worrying about, we don't want Patrick Mahomes to have any time. Like, motherfucker, you score. How about you score, right? Like, that's when like his warts become really obvious. And it all just stems because he just singularly focused on this one part of football.
He wants to dumb down his offense. He wants to stifle his offense because he wants to play a certain way. Mm-hmm. Plain and simple. Earlier in the season when we were having, he ended up wheels ended up falling off on him. But, what was it, the first 3 weeks or so, Minshew was like second in yards and like, highest completion percentage, stuff like that. And we were still running the ball a ton. And it's like, you know what? We talked about it. do you coach the team that you have, or do you coach the team that you want? And he still seems to be that type of guy where he wants to have those tight games. He wants to have those defensive games. And that's how he coaches. It's really rough, man. It's super rough to watch this because you see it happening in real time. I mean, the people that are more objective, the fans that are more objective about it, can see it happen. Some guy was talking to me about, aren't you tired of switching coaches every year? Well, yeah, I am, but I'm also not going to keep a coach around just for the sake of.
You know what I'm more tired of? Not having a good coach.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm more bothered by, right? Yeah, man. Another kind of standard operating procedure AP game, which is sad to say, So about the defense. Held them, like I said, back-to-back touchdown drives by Tampa Bay to start the game. 6 following drives, 3 punts, 3 takeaways. Most takeaways the Raiders have had this season. The first game where we weren't out taken away, I believe. We might have had a 1-1 earlier. But 3 takeaways is the most we've ever had in a game. First fumble recovery of the season, and it took till we got to week 14. I was blown away, Soto, that only this show was highlighting that. Like, no one was talking about how the Raiders did not have a fumble recovery all season long until today. Not since the 1954 Rams did a team go this long into a season without a fumble recovery. And no one was talking about it. Like, CBS put up a graphic about it after we got the first recovery, but that is atrocious. That's historically embarrassing. You just, like, Soto, you could play linebacker and have a ball eventually fall into your lap, right? And it's like we couldn't get one fumble recovery. And this is where, like, again, I keep everything kind of comes back to Antonio Pierce, but number 1 in turnover differential when we were playing, number 1 in penalties when he took over last season. Like all these things that were like, okay, he's not just a feel-good hire. It's a small sample size, but that's all we have. Here's some metrics where, okay, if he can do what he did last season here, and here, we can forgive his learning curve of trying to be a sideline general. But he's even worse as a sideline general than we thought of. And those things that shined last season completely evaporated. Not even just like didn't happen this season, went completely the other way. We're the worst team in turnover, like worst turnover differential. Took to week 14 to get a fumble recovery. It's like historically terrible in multiple metrics.
Yeah, I think it was highlighted. We have the most fumbles and the least amount of fumble recovered.
We can suck you both ways. Like we can go bad that way. We can go bad the other way. Like anytime any football touches the ground, it's because the Raiders are fucking up.
Yeah, man, it's a shame. It really is. Anything that can go wrong really has gone wrong this season, including coaching decisions. Mm-hmm. It just seems like whenever we're in a position to kind of make some, get some momentum, especially coaching wise, to show that we're, maybe AP's learning or being a little bit better about certain things. It just doesn't, he just seems to just prove us right every single week. I don't think there's a game this season that he's outcoached anyone. I think he's been outcoached every single game, even games that we've won, because it's taken, crazy individual efforts to get that done. And I just don't get it, man. I don't understand it. I understand loyalty and stuff like that and wanting the people that you already have to be that guy, but they have to show you consistently that they can do the job at a high level. And I don't think Antonio Pierce or Aidan O'Connell has shown us that. And it's just weird, man. It's just really weird how this is all just playing out. And it just seems like we just want to be bad. We would rather be bad our own way, doing things our way, than win doing it a way that maybe we didn't want. That's what it seems like.
So that's the head coach. Let's get to the offensive coordinator. Scott Turner, we all got our eyeballs on. It's like, okay, can you earn a job next season by what you're doing as interim, or not interim, but stepping in as offensive coordinator with Papa Norv looking over your shoulder. 286 total yards today. The offense really came back down to earth after last week. Sincere McCormick looked pretty good. Both quarterbacks, neither looked great at all. Brock Bowers, did he ask for some time off? He had one target in the first half.
Yeah,
one target in the first half.
He had five the whole game.
That's it. And half his yards were garbage time. He was a non-factor, right? Arguably the best target in football was a non-factor for 3/4 of this game. I tweeted this out. If you're Scott Turner, right, and you're trying to get what's Scott Turner doing right now? Trying to get a full offensive coordinator position next season. That's what he's doing, right? And he's doing everything he can to do it. He's given the keys to the kingdom. Here's your offense. You've got Brock Bowers, you got Jacoby Myers, you got Sincere McCormick, you got Michael Mayer, you got Trey Tucker, you got some weapons, right? And no one's going to be like, oh man, if you don't put up 30, 40 points a game, you're gonna suck. We know what you're dealing with. All you got to do. What do we say about coaches every single time? Just get the most out of the players you have, right? The offense was hot garbage under Luke Getsy. All you got to do is be tangibly better.
They're worse.
You gotta be like, here's what Luke Getsy did, and I did 20% better. Okay. Luke Getsy's had multiple offensive coordinator positions. You are now in offensive coordinator conversations. That's the minimum. Maybe you do great, and this is your opportunity, right? And what are some things you'd love to have on your resume? Having the first and only offensive rookie of the year who's a tight end. That's never happened before. It's never happened before, right? There's never been a tight end that's won offensive rookie of the year, and it's really hard to beat out quarterbacks for that spot. But you got a shot. Brock Bowers has a legit shot to be the first tight end offensive rookie of the year. He's got a real shot at it. That should be your focus. You would want that on your resume. That would be stapled onto your resume as a football coach for the rest of your career. You're a young guy. For the next 40 years, you can say you were the first person that got a tight end. Tight ends don't win awards. First person to get a tight end to an offensive rookie of the year. You could say that. You have the ability to do that. And you toss him the ball one fucking time in the first half. What kind of self-preservation is that? What kind of brain, that's your ticket. You're not going to have a great offense. Desmond Ritter's going to be your quarterback. You're not going to, you know what I mean? You're not going to the playoffs. Your offense isn't going to be amazing. You don't have a great running back core. You don't have a good line. But what you can do is make history. And what's going to be more impressive on your resume for the next 10 years? Oh, I took the offense from 31st to 29th? Or I'm the only motherfucker that was able to get a tight end to an offensive rookie of the year. He won offensive rookie of the year over Jaden Daniels because of me. You have that opportunity, Scott Turner. And what do? You throw Brock the Rock one time in the first half. So stupid. It's stupid just game plan wise. Even if you're being an unselfish offensive coordinator, get the ball to Brock Bowers. Sorry, it ain't rocket science. And 2, self-preservation. Be a little selfish. Be like, oh, I want to do this for me. I want to be great. I want to take credit. And you just don't give Brock the rock.
And the thing is, it's not like it's not built into the scheme. We saw him. We saw that on that weird pass when Parham, I think it was, stepped on O'Connell's foot and he threw that pass to. He saw the linebacker was on him. He just needed to get it up in the air.
That was actually a good play by Farmer.
That was an excellent play.
It looked terrible. That was a touchdown. That was a touchdown if it wasn't a PI. That was
it was going to be a touchdown or it was going to be a pass interference.
We shat on Farva today for good reasons. That was a good play. That was a.
But the thing is he was motioned into that coverage, and I don't understand why we don't do that to highlight those matchups, and we need to do a better job of that. D. Sandoval says, I think Mark Davis is using AP to get a top 3 pick and then fire him. I think you're right. I really do think that's probably it.
Oh, so you think Mark is tanking?
At this point, I wouldn't be surprised. Nothing would surprise me at this point.
I would be shocked. I think he just made I think. Look, you and I were behind the Antonio Pierce hire. Like we were like, okay, like we're not getting. Like there were some guys we weren't gonna get. Some of the other coaches that were available. Like, oh, I would much rather have this guy. Like, yeah, like there were a lot of guys we'd rather have. They weren't coming to the Raiders. They weren't, right? And so we're like, okay, like the Autumn Windbags gave our official stamp of approval to Antonio Pierce. We were wrong, but we did. Like we saw what he wasn't good at, and we squinted our eyes and saw the potential. It obviously didn't pan out, but it wasn't like it didn't feel tanky then. It doesn't feel tanky now. It just feels bad. It just feels bad. Luke Getsy's a bad offensive coordinator. Our quarterbacks aren't starting NFL caliber quarterbacks. Our depth could not handle the amount of injuries that we sustained this season. Good teams with good depth don't handle as many injuries as we had this season, and we don't have the depth to handle it this season.
It's true.
It was a lot of to only have 2 wins in 14 weeks. It's not just a bad coach, not just a bad quarterback. It takes a lot of things to be this bad, and we did all those things bad. And guys, it wasn't on purpose. It wasn't on purpose. Like no one got injured on purpose. Luke Getsy did not want to. Luke Getsy's not getting an offensive coordinator job for seasons to come. He's going to go another half decade as like a passing game coordinator or a run game assistant. After his runs with getting fired by the Raiders and the Bears, he's not getting an OC job. And that's not because he was trying to tank. He was doing his best. He just sucks. He just sucks.
I mean, I'll tell you something right now. Regardless of the state of the roster, good head coaches don't go 2-11. I mean, if you want to look at it from that perspective, we just have to stop with the excuses to a point, and just call it what it is, man. Just call it what it is. Unfortunately, we're in a position now where a lot of bad things compounded on top of each other. We had a lot of key injuries early, which affected the way we were able to play. I think that we were, like I said, the defensive line was supposed to just really power this defense, and we were supposed to, be that defensive-minded team. And we lose Kuntz right away. Then about a month into the season, we lose Wilkins, and offensively, we were, it was pretty rough from the beginning, but we looked like we were starting to maybe get some traction, and I don't know, man. It's really frustrating because not only am I fighting my feelings to just lose it every time I watch these guys play, I'm having to fight the fans out there who are just in a dream world. They're in a dream world. And I don't know. I don't really talk to any other people that are in other fan bases and that talk about their fan bases. I would assume that poor teams, like maybe I don't know what the hell the Giants are doing over there, but poor teams have a similar mindset in a divided fan base. But I don't know, man. Where this team sits, even before this game, where that team sat is a bad team. A full strength Raiders team this season, borderline playoff team, borderline. But this incarnation where we are right now is the worst team in the league.
Or the number 1 draft pick currently.
Yeah, we got the number 1 pick.
You're the number 1 pick. And what does that tell you? Anything else you want to get to? I got a couple more things.
Janoy Kresva is a total thug.
Mm-hmm.
Oops, where is he? There he goes. My oldest son is a Kansas City fan. I'd sell him first into trafficking, and you rightfully so.
You get a good price for him in Thailand.
It depends.
Depends what he looks like. We need some photos.
Yeah. I don't need photos.
It's getting real.
No, let's just go ahead and say that right now. I don't need photos whatsoever. I'm sure Janoy Kresva, you make a very handsome offspring, but I don't need to see pictures. Thank you.
Other than takeaways, and this is it's a major issue. Like, I don't want to like sugarcoat things. Defense has been playing well this season and played really well today. Like, an offense that just keeps giving the ball away. Baker's legit. We kind of bottled up Mike Evans pretty good. We were saying when we were breaking it down, it's like we got no one that can cover him. Like, we're gonna have to like win a shootout, double him. Like, Mike Evans is just so underrated, so good. He only had 4 yards, 4 receptions, 69 yards. Like, it's it's just kind of no one had a huge game. No one really like went buck wild on us. It was just consistent. It was just like, oh, they got the ball back. They got the ball back. They got the ball back. And Baker just, got his 3 touchdowns, almost 300 yards.
RJ, you wanna handle this one?
Well, and this was always was it our last show? Our last show, we were saying like, okay, what is Antonio Pierce's best argument, right? The season's over, right? Let's say they lose out, right? Or, win 3 games, whatever, right? Terrible, terrible season. Top 3 draft pick. And Mark Davis calls Antonio Pierce into his office and says, convince me why I shouldn't can your ass right now for this atrocity of a season. What would his argument be? And we in good faith are like, okay, let's figure out what that is. And we could only think of 2 things. The team didn't give up on us. And, we want to build continuity. We want, Dan Campbell was 3-14 at this point. A lot of coaches, they lose early. I need a few years to build a team, to install my players, install my system, install my way of doing things, install my philosophy. And it takes time to do that. Like, it does happen overnight. A lot of coaches can do that, but it's not usually happening overnight. And we couldn't think of a third reason, Toto. Like, we couldn't get to number 3. The 2 things are, one of them you have no control over. It's just philosophy. Well, I need time. And 2, you got multimillionaires to do their jobs throughout the course of their work season.
That's the price of admission right there. Is playing hard.
That's his 2 arguments. If we're missing something, please let us know. Does Antonio Pierce have another argument other than this team is still playing hard? Like, this team has not given up, and that does happen sometimes. They gave up last season. Like, everyone gave up on Josh McDaniels, right? So it's like, okay, that is something. It's something. It's not the worst. He avoided worst case scenario. Okay, well, he does deserve that credit. And just like, you got to let guys have time. You just got to but that's the argument of hey, babe, I know you want to divorce me, but we shouldn't, because neither one of us can afford to live alone. Like, you're not selling yourself. You're selling hypothetical alternative is worse, as opposed to I'm doing a good job. And Dan Campbell improved stuff. That's Soto's talked about it 100 times. It's like, okay, if the record's terrible, that's not good. But is he getting better? Is Antonio Pierce installing things that are heading this direction? What do I always say? That's not where you are, it's where you're going. It's like buying stock. It's not that's how you should is the value going up with something? A player, a scheme, a coach, anything. Is his value going to go up after I buy this? Bitcoin hit 100K, right? Is it going up? AP's not going up. He's not. If anything, other coaches are noticing his tendencies now and being able to figure them out and making it worse, right? Yeah. At least coming in, you didn't know his tendencies. He wasn't you can outsmart him, but at least you don't know what his tendencies are. Now he's not smart, not getting better, and you know his tendencies. It's going the wrong direction.
Yeah, so I don't know how many times I have to say this. For me, this season, it wasn't about wins and losses for Antonio Pierce. Like you said, it was about him getting better as a head coach, getting better in his in-game decision making, which he hasn't. He's staying. Whenever we notice a decision, it's not, oh wow, it's a good. No, it was a bad decision. The challenge, okay, not going for it on fourth down when you haven't scored in a while on your own territory, okay, taking a field goal when you're down 10 points and that's the first time you've been there. The last time you were in the red zone, you threw an interception. It's like you're not going to get that deep very often, and you didn't. You didn't get the ball that deep in their territory the whole game after that. Not getting into the ref's face after your quarterback is basically probably his kneecap broken. That's probably. I mean, I don't know what happened, but that's probably what happened. He got tackled hard on that knee a few plays before or a few series before, and then on that play he got pushed and it landed on the knee again. He probably either dislocated or it broke or whatever.
Can we just say that was a cheap shot?
It was a total cheap shot.
If it wasn't a Raider, that would have been rough in the passer. Absolutely. If that were Patrick Mahomes, that Bucs defender would be tarred and feathered in the town square. But it's a Raider quarterback, so it's fine. You can do that. You can do it.
Yeah, it was pretty dirty, and AP not. I would have even excused a freaking 15-yard penalty on that. You were punting anyway. It's like, get in these refs' faces, show the team that you're standing up for your guys, and that was total BS.
And get it on the record. Hey, refs, that was bullshit. Because refs are human. Refs do make up penalties all the time. If you miss that penalty and the coach gets in your face and you're on national CBS television of some ref or some coach like pointing at your chest, like, what the fuck? You messed that up, bro. And they always come with the first name. Jeff, whatever his name was. Jeff, you fucked that up. My name's
Jeff.
You fucked that up, Jeff. Your dad never would have made that mistake. You know what I mean? Like, that's what good coaches do, is you get in those refs' minds and you make sure that, all right, you're not getting this one, but damn sure you're getting the next one because you got in that ref's mind and you made him have to do a make good. Sam DeMann, longtime member and very generous super chatter. Thank you so much for it.
Thank you, Sam.
Would you rather take Sanders or draft best player available than Aller, or trade the number one pick and draft Aller in the second? I think Shedeur Sanders will be average. With the information we have right this second, Soto, I would definitely see what we could get with what we can get for a number one overall. I would definitely shop it. I just don't know if people view anyone in this draft the way they view Caleb Williams, or, you know what I mean? Like, is there a single player in this draft where we're going to get 3 first-rounders? I don't think there's a single team that's going to give up 3 first-rounders for anyone in this draft. It's a bad draft to have the number one overall. It is.
I mean, it's just like Jamarcus Russell draft, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, look, the issue that we're looking at here is you have to really squint to make Shedeur now. It's weird. Like, sometimes the situation, like we talked about Aller, he's not in a passing offense in Penn State. He may look better in the pros with a different offense, different players around him, whatever. But if you take the top 3 quarterbacks away from last year's draft, that's what you're looking at. Mm-hmm. Bo Nix is doing pretty well for himself. We don't know what J.J. McCarthy's all about. Penix is, another couple of interceptions away from playing. So we don't know yet. What I know of Shedeur Sanders is he has some really good high-end traits. He's super smart. He doesn't get fooled at the line of scrimmage. His accuracy is on par with anyone that we've seen, even last year's draft. He is super accurate with the ball. No, he doesn't have the arm strength that like a Caleb or a Jaden Daniels or even a Drake May has, but he can create out of the pocket. He's not super mobile, but he's not slow. He can create out of the pocket, and he's a good leader on the field, along with those high end traits. I mean, we don't know if Aller is available in this draft, so it's kind of hard to say that I would. If he is available, I would really think about it. We're getting really, I think what was it? We're haunted by not taking Megatron first overall, and just figuring out something, later for a quarterback, either that year or in following years. But it's going to be really tough to pass up a guy who average is probably his realistic basement. To be an average quarterback is probably his realistic basement. Now, can he be worse than that? Sure. He could be worse, but realistically, what are you looking at? I'm really firm on that. I agree with what Todd McShay says. Is a realistic comp of who he's going to be is a Tua with a stronger arm, or the late resurgence, the Seattle version of Geno, but with a quicker release. That's who he sees him being, and those guys are winning games in this league.
I'm hoping that there's one of the other 31. Let's say we keep the number one overall, right? Let's say we go number one overall. I'm hoping that there's a team out there that's super horny for Travis Hunter, because he's the blue chip, can't miss best player in this draft, right? You go best player available is Travis Hunter, right? That's kind of what I'm hoping, is that someone is super horny for Travis Hunter, and we can trade away number one and then trade down to 4 or 5 and still get maybe Cam or Shador or, however things, we'll find out when things pan out, right? When who needs a quarterback, who doesn't, who's willing to trade. There's still a lot of stuff there, but I would try to turn that number one into, let's still get a high-end quarterback and then some more stuff, because we need a lot of holes, and there's really only one can't miss dude in this draft. And if we have access to him, we don't draft Travis Hunter, right? I mean, we have too big of a need at quarterback. We don't draft it because Telesco loves best player available. He does.
It all depends on what you see. If you see as an evaluator, if you see this year's draft class at quarterback to be closer to the Penix Knicks side than the Drake May side of last year's kind of spectrum, then you don't go number one, because I don't think anyone would draft a player like that number one. Also, you have to take a look at who's available in free agency, because look, it took, like you said, it took Baker and took Darnold to get into a better situation to show what they can do. There's also players out there that are going to be free agents who are rated higher. Maybe they're rated higher coming out of college than the players that you have to draft. Just because you're drafting them doesn't mean that they're going to automatically be better. So,
is there a quarterback that you would want that you think we could get by trading the number one draft pick?
I wouldn't trade the number one pick for any quarterback out there, because I don't think that I wouldn't.
There's no anything willing.
What was that?
You don't think there'd be anyone willing to make it?
I don't think so, because you would only really trade the number one pick for another quarterback. And I don't think that the guys that we have coming out this season are looked at as, the Calebs and Jaden. All those guys. I'm saying a quarterback that's already on a team. No. What I'm saying is no one's going to want to make that trade unless they're going to take a quarterback.
Yes.
So, but I don't see that players in this draft being worthy of doing that, because it's not going to just take one player to get that number one pick. You have to put a lot more in too.
This really is the worst draft ever to have number one overall. It's never bad to have number one overall, but I would much rather have number one overall in
last year,
year before, Let me look this up. List
3 years ago was the Trevor Lawrence draft. 4 years ago was the no, we don't want that one. That was the freaking Pickett draft. We don't want that.
It was Caleb Williams, Bryce Young, Trevon Walker, Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, Myles Garrett, Jared Goff, Jameis Winston, Jadeveon Clowney. I mean, it's obviously so early to tell, right? But right now, yeah, kind of a weird draft to have number one. That's been an hour, Soto. Anything else you want to get to? Anything you need to get off your chest? Any fire you need to spit?
No.
Any other Raider fans need a lecture that desperately need one?
No. It's not going to matter anyway.
They never listen.
No, they're not listening. It's just the mindset. It's not. The mindset is broken. So you can tell them anything you want.
Well, it's one of those seasons, Soto. It's one of those Soto seasons where I say, yeah, just kiss your wife, hug your kids, call your mom, pet your dog. Try to find joy elsewhere.
Is there any coming back from that? Being 0-6 in the division?
What's worse, 2-win season or 0-6? Let's say you went
what's worse is that it happens in the same season.
Let's say what's worse though? What if you go 5-12, but you went 0-6, or if you go 2-15, but you win one division game?
I think the division is worse because you know those guys, you play them all the time.
Yeah, 2 wins is pretty atrocious. That's as bad as the Raiders have been the last 20 years. Always won more than 2. Well, season ain't over. Again, it's been draft season, and as of right this second, the Raiders are officially on the clock for the 2025 NFL Draft. We'll leave you with that. We'll talk to you guys on Thursday. We'll record Wednesday. If anything crazy happens, are we watching to see if AP gets fired? Like, is that something that we're kind of like what are the odds AP gets fired before our show on Thursday?
I don't think so.
Less than 10%, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say it's not going to happen, but I don't foresee it happening.
I'd say less than 10%. But hey, it's something to kind of, we'll keep an eye on it. Until then, knock on wood if you're with me.